Good evening, listeners, brave navigators of the enigmatic and the concealed. Have you ever felt the pull of the unanswered, the allure of the mysteries that shroud our existence? For more than a decade, a unique comic publisher has dared to dive into these mysteries, unafraid of the secrets they might uncover. This audacious entity is Paranoid American. Welcome to the mystifying universe of the Paranoid American podcast.
Launched in the year 2012, Paranoid American has been on a mission to decipher the encrypted secrets of our world. From the unnerving enigma of MK Ultra mind control to the clandestine assemblies of secret societies. From the awe-inspiring frontiers of forbidden technology to the arcane patterns of occult symbols in our very own pop culture. They have committed to unveiling the concealed realities that lie just beneath the surface. Join us as we navigate these intricate landscapes, decoding the hidden scripts of our society and challenging the accepted perceptions of reality.
Folks, I've got a big problem on my hands. There's a company called Paranoid American making all these funny memes and comics. Now, I'm a fair guy. I believe in free speech as long as it doesn't cross the line. And if these AI-generated memes dare to make fun of me, they're crossing the line.
This is your expedition into the realm of the extraordinary, the secret, the shrouded. Come with us as we sift through the world's grand mysteries, question the standardized narratives, and brave the cryptic labyrinth of the concealed truth. So strap yourselves in, broaden your horizons, and steel yourselves for a voyage into the enigmatic heart of the Paranoid American podcast, where each story, every image, every revelation brings us one step closer to the elusive truth.
Yo, we're going to get right into it right away because I already did an interview with Ani a while back, and you can check out the description for a link and watch that if you want to figure out who Ani Osaru and the Spiritual Shade Room is. But today we're just going to hit the ground running and talk about a bunch of really cool topics. So first of all, welcome, Ani. How you doing? Let people know where to find you.
It's great to be back, bro. You guys can reach me on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook at the same name, Ani Osaru, or you can come to the Patreon page, patreon.com/the_spiritual shade room. That's all together. That's where you can holla at me at. But it's great to be back on the platform, brother. How are you, man?
Good, man. And the last time we talked, you were about to go away on like a trip or something. You posted some pictures from that. Are you down to talk about that at all?
Absolutely. We did a spiritual retreat. The name of the retreat was Call Us By Our Name, Ancestors Retreat. We wanted to commemorate the ancestors here in Columbia, South Carolina. It's on the 33 parallel, which is a very important ley line dragon path when you look into sacred geometry or the physics and geomancy and all of that. They have a lot of rituals. Matter of fact, the country was named after this area that I'm in, Columbia, South Carolina. You get the District of Columbia. Columbia is the chief goddess, which is another name for Isis. A lot of people don't know Columbia means Isis. So we had a great time at the retreat. We had a lot of people come out. We had women doing different, art, selling art and doing crystal healing sessions, Tibetan singing bowl sessions. We had different music performances. So it was just a great time for people to come out there and connect that's like-minded, get into the research. We had lectures on the second day, a bunch of lectures, and everyone was very, pleased and excited about what was happening with that and what we're doing next year in Costa Rica.
How long have you been doing that? What is it called? What is my name? Say my name.
Call Us By Our Name.
Call Us By Our Name. Yeah. How long has it been going on?
This has been the first one, actually, bro.
Okay.
The first retreat. I've been doing a lot of conferences. I guess that was like the foundation. I would do conferences. So I'll go to like a spiritual metaphysical shop, and we would move the chairs inside of in the shop, and we would set up something, to put up the TV, and we would do lectures. We would go through slides, talk about metaphysics, esotericism, the Bible, Moorish information. There's a bunch of stuff that the community may be speaking on. We'll have something set up so people can come in and ask questions that they always wanted to actually ask about it, but never had the environment to ask about it.
I might even have some of those questions, man, especially when you mention like the Bible and like Moorish connections and influences. Because from
Yeah.
like way outside looking in, like I'm ignorant as hell on the topic, just straight out. But like Moorish and Black Israelite and like 5%, it all and Nation of Islam, it all seems like it's in like a quadrant that I don't know enough to like separate them all meticulously. So is that like completely wrong that they don't even belong anywhere near each other, or do they all come from like similar influences?
Well, you have the Moorish temple of science. That's when you actually study up under the temple, the Moorish temple in Noble Drew Ali, but they would all be considered Moors. Let's make that mistake. All of them are Moors, because Moors was a description, from even going back to Atlantis. You have Lemurian or Lemurian. That M-U-U-R was a formal etymology of M-O-O-R. And a lot of the European empires of the early day came from Moorish influences, and it's mentioned in many books. But the Hebrew Israelite, that's more connected to the Bible. Some stuff that they believe coming out of Scripture. I think more than New Testament. And what did you say?
Well, I mean, I would just throw in all of the like I guess like Nation of Islam, 5%, Moorish Temple, Black Israelites. I don't know any other ones. Those are like
Nation of Islam. I think they came out of the Moorish science. I think Elijah Muhammad was taught by Angelo Suleiman, or his teacher Farah Muhammad was either taught by him or not, or I can't remember, is either one or the other. But yeah, they're connected to the Moorish temple of science. Most of their stuff comes from that, and the 5% Nation, they get some stuff from that as well, but they're a little bit different. They got different information on the gods and the earth. They got a little bit different type of stuff than the Nation of Islam. But yeah, it's they all are about something in melanated history that was missing. I guess they all bring something to the forefront to try to wake up, mainly in America. The stolen children. That they talk about. The Israelites will call us Israelites. The Moors will call us Moors. The Nation of Islam will call us, Muslim. So it's different, identifications, and that's one of the main things. There's not really identification, whether we're African American, which that you can't even understand ethnicity if you call a person African that hasn't even been in Africa for 500
Yeah, what do you call Elon Musk? African?
Well, he actually been in Africa for within 100 years. So yeah, he's
an African American, right?
Yeah, he is an African American. I mean, literally everybody comes from Africa. If you want to look at
it's a good point too.
But the identity of the Black American, we're starting to figure out more and more that there is some Native Aboriginal American Indian ties that was hidden. If you go to some of the slave graveyards, a lot of them have a Native American marked over the grave. Interesting, or it'll say Black Indian or Black Indian American and stuff like that. I've been to some of those graves, and people are starting to post the graves that they knew that there was a change of identity somewhere going into the early 1900s of who these people were. We were Moors, then we were American Indians, then we became Negro, slave, then we became Black, then later on it just pops out of nowhere as just African American.
They just keep adding letters and it sounds more and more like official.
Right. So yeah, everybody's twisted on that. Everybody has a different opinion on that, but
before I forget, you mentioned that you do your your new annual convention on the 33rd, but you also called it like a dragon line. I've never heard that before. What's a dragon line?
Dragon path,
or dragon path.
Yeah. When you look into the Earth's sacred geometry, there's these paths that line up with ley lines. I think one is more focused on where is the Earth's Kundalini energy. That's the dragon path. Every 2,000 years, the Earth's Kundalini central area shifts. It'll shift to another area. Right now, it's in America. That's why there's big attention in America. Of course, there's big attention in Israel right now. I'm pretty sure we can talk about all of that stuff going on. but it shifts like every 2,000 years, just like the astrological age. And right now in America, in another place called Ascension Island, has a dragon path going through it. That's right next to the west coast of Africa. Some of the best places to escape reincarnation.
Real Ascension Island, and that's where you go to escape reincarnation.
Well, yeah, there's places on the southeast in America, up north in America, and some places in the west coast that got dragon lines running straight through it. And it's not, officially known whether or not you escape reincarnation. It's just something that the ancients said, where these earth kundalini energy basically circuitries are. There's high centripetal force. So when you leave the body, you're able to enter that centripetal force. If you do your kundalini practice and your soul aligns with that centripetal longitudinal array of frequency, then you're training the spirit to escape reincarnation, is what, is proposed and all of that.
That's wild, because I'd never heard the concept of the earth having its own kundalini energy. But it reminds me of, I think it's called the Gaia theory by, I'm probably get the wrong name, James Lovelock, I think. But he basically wrote that the earth itself is like an organism, and we're just kind of like little cells living on top of it, and that it has its own immune system, which might come in the form of like, great deluge, like big waves that wipe everything away, or big firestorms that wipe everything away. That might just be like its immune system. So talking about the earth having its own kundalini energy seems like it fits right into that theory.
Yeah, absolutely. I will completely subscribe to that it has its own immune system. I believe that Gaia has its own mind. I think it's trying to wake back up and wake the energy in the kundalini up within us all. And that's why you see great shifts in how we're thinking. Like a lot of people probably 20 years ago, some of the information we speak on, we would probably get shut down immediately. They would call us completely, woo-woo and kooky.
Well, they do. They do anyways.
But they still do. Yeah, they do. You got you get more people saying, okay, I can see that. I want to know more. Let me know more. Point me to know where you got that from, instead of saying, oh, these people are just completely all crazy.
Do you think that people came from like the same place as Gaia, or do you think that like for example, did we just come straight from nature and built up directly in nature, got consciousness from nature, or is there like an extraterrestrial, extra spiritual intersection with our world that happened?
Very much extra spiritual interconnection. I think that formerly Gaia, I got a book, by the way, just to plug my book, that I talk about this. It's called The Blueprint of Darkness. And in my book, I speak about how in the beginning of time, the world used to be in a spiritual plane. And you know how they say that we have a core within the earth. This main core is believed by the ancients that the core was another star. It's actually Sirius B. You have Sirius A, out there, and call it the pole star. Then you have Sirius B. Then Sirius C is supposed to be the future form of the Sirius star. Is actually a white dwarf star far, far out from there. They say it doesn't exist, but it is there. It's weird how scientists explain this stuff. But basically on Earth, this inside of this star, quote unquote, spiritual beings or consciousness existed within it. And then over billions and billions of years, if you read Manly P. Hall's 7 Root Races, those conscious beings begin to take on physical bodies. Now, how? That's the big question. You can go into the Gnostic text, you can go into many different texts, but it's saying basically that Earth is the center of the universe. We're not looking for nothing really outside of it. Everything as far as evolving evolution, entering into the universal mind, either from a quantum state or the macrocosmic state, we're dealing with it here. This is the alchemical chamber for us to transmute and understand what was the actual thing that caused quote unquote evil, third dimensional reality, whatever we're looking at as a polarity that got us into this thing. that's pretty much what's going on and what we're dealing with.
I like that. I mean, the visual that I'm getting is like you said, like we're almost in this alchemical flask, and it's like
Yeah.
we got all the
Yeah.
ingredients that we need. But there's a lot of people that are like, hey, that flask over there on the other side of the room might be better. Let's go over there. And then like you're gonna just start spreading the efforts around, like, well, what happens if you just put like a little flake of mercury in every flask, right? Nothing. Like it's not gonna have the impact.
Right.
That's an interesting way to look at it, man. I never considered it, because it seems almost like people look at the earth as we got it now as like the launch pad. Like this is where we just started. Like the slime, crawled out of the ocean and it got smart enough to make a rocket to get out, and then like the real adventure begins once that happens. But yeah, maybe the real adventure is supposed to be happening here, and we're not supposed to escape it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think some people escape it. Actually, I don't think everybody gets out. I think there are NPCs set up. If you ever play Grand Theft Auto, you got your main character. You play your main character, then you got a bunch of NPCs. You pull them out the car, you harass them. Or
you listen to the banter. That's always the best part of the game now.
Yeah. So just like that, we have that here in the third dimensional reality. Same thing going on, that these NPCs, they're not meant to really transmute. They're just here just to be either a roadblock or whatever they are. There's something to increase whatever the alchemical transmutation is. They're a part of the solve et coagula, the process, and we just come across them and they irritate the hell out of us. But we're going somewhere that they wouldn't be going. And I think that's the whole mystery of the Christos, or the Christ. It's called the Chres in the ancient texts. Christ to me wasn't a man. It was a group of beings that were able to transmute the soul and get out of here, come down here, experience what this thing is, then get up out of here. But I mean, I believe there was a Yeshua Panthera, Bay Panthera, or Panthera, I think that's what they call his name. There was a person that was persecuted by the Roman government by the name of Yeshua, but I don't believe, that the full story biblically is history. I believe some of it is esoteric to all of us, and they do say in the Bible he's in all of us. They say stuff like that, or it says ye are gods, and the scripture cannot be broken. You have that. So people just skip over that and just say what they want to say, and I call that bibliomancy.
Yeah, you mentioned that before, bibliomancy. What does that mean exactly? Because it like, if I take it with the mancy, it's usually like some kind of magic, right? So like using the Bible as magic.
Yeah, you ever heard that the world is a stage and a strip following biblical esoteric themes? You see the Jesuits a lot. They've been using it. If you just look into the Jesuit history, going back to Saint Francis of Assisi, he was saying stuff like, whenever we say Jesus wants you to do something, that's literally coming from us, from Jesus. So you have to do it. So they could just say anything, like, Jesus wants you to get on your knees right now. And they
like Simon Says.
Right. So that's what they're doing with the Bible on a wide scale. Now, some people literally believe it. They'll read the Bible and they'll say, this is God's word, and this is how we're supposed to follow it. And they're morally good people. Let's make no mistake about that. They're good people. They're morally, like my mother. She's morally a good person, because the Bible and religion is supposed to teach people morally how to be good. But that was for savage people. When it was created, there were more mystery schools that the Bible was taking little things from and being incorporated from, which we can see the transliterations and the comparisons when we align the Nag Hammadi and some of these other texts up with the Bible, even the Apocalypse of Adam, the missing books of the Bible, that some things are left out. Many things are left out, like nobody can answer, why is Yahweh so jealous? You know, you have your Christian scholars say certain things and they'll explain it in a theological way, but it on a wide, you know, scale of things. They never really break these things down. It comes from
Are we
ancient.
talking like Book of Job, or is there another example of like the
Are you talking
jealousy?
about what he did to Job? No, I mean, it's just.
Well, that's the most classic story that I know about, like the Old Testament God being, I guess, jealous or something like that, where he keeps like poking Job to see if he's still gonna like keep his faith. But I'm sure there's plenty of other examples.
Yeah, like he says Exodus 34:14. He says, for you shall worship no other God, for the Lord whose name is jealous. You know, he's a jealous God. He said, I am a jealous God. He's a jealous God. Exodus 34:14. And there's another one where he says that he is not the God of the dead. Let me show you this one. Hold on. This one was always interesting to me, and I think it's referring ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic esoteric information. Mark 12:27, he says, well, let me give you the King James version, because that's what they're all going to say. It's not the King James version. Okay, King James Bible says, Mark 12:27, he is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. Yea, therefore do greatly err. And I guess that means that you made a mistake. So basically it's saying that Yahweh, Jehovah, was never the God of the dead, but of the living. To me, dissecting Gnostic texts, that would mean that Yahweh, or the creator of the physical realm, the 3D reality, is not the God of when you leave the physical body, he has nothing to do with that realm of where we're at when we're out of the physical body. His creation is primarily within the physical 3D realm of when you're alive, when you're living in his realm. He has everything to do with that.
I mean, I don't want to. Yeah, let's just get into it. But like, are we talking Lucifer now? Because Lucifer is supposed to be the god of the material world, right? Or Saturn.
Well, Lucifer esoterically is many things, because if you go into the Greek text, look at Prometheus. Prometheus' story and Lucifer's story is the same story. So he's not the God. He's not the creator God, because Prometheus was a Titan. A lot of people don't know this. Prometheus in the Titanomachy, when there was the great battle of the Titans, or the giants, the Jotunheim in Nordic mythology, when they battled the gods, Prometheus actually joined the gods in the war, not because he betrayed the Titans. It's because his special ability, the word Prometheus means foreseeing. He can see the future. So it is predicted esoterically that Prometheus is Lucifer, okay, so Zeus locks Prometheus up in Tartarus for betraying him. How does he betray him? He gives man in the beginning of time something called the fire of the gods. That's what he's holding in that picture right there. He's holding the fire of the gods. He gives it to man, and it's predicted that the fire is consciousness. He gives us consciousness, because before we were just bumbling hominids, fools. We couldn't really perceive. We were just slaves, you know. Then he comes down and he gives us consciousness. And then Zeus gets mad. He's like, you gave my creation too much. You gave him too much juice, bro. Why did you give him all this juice, bro? And he said, well, I'm gonna have to punish you. He locked him in Tartarus. And esoterically, it could mean the subconscious. You know, the underworld could mean the subconscious. But I also look at Lucifer from an esoteric point of view of being our pineal gland, the third eye, the activation of the third eye, or getting foresight. Sometimes we're able to get foresight, premonition, you know, of things. So, yeah, what you think about that?
Yeah, and you can see here Athena basically giving this NPC reason, right? So before she does whatever she's doing with this dude's forehead, that was just an NPC or some kind of homunculus, I guess.
Yeah, I've been studying more on the homunculus. Crazy stuff, man. Real crazy stuff. But
so do you think that there's a difference between what you were calling an NPC before and a homunculus?
I don't think it's a difference from the standpoint of what they are in the Matrix, but how they're created could be different.
Yeah, this is why. I mean, it's like, here's the assembly line right here, right?
Exactly. And yeah, I believe that if you go in the temple of Seti 1, if you type in Seti 1, it is assumed that Seti 1 is the pyramid on the dollar bill. That's why, on the $1 bill, that's why they call it one. It's Seti 1. It's talking about this pyramid Seti 1. And Champollion, Napoleon's brother, he went to this pyramid when they were excavating things, and he discovered, you see that? He discovered a whole, yeah. They found ships.
Are those two alien starships?
Yeah. This is real, bro.
That's like a fighter. Oh, is that a helicopter?
Yeah.
Okay, I know I've seen this before, but I guess just not in the context of just casually going to the Wikipedia page and seeing it.
Yeah,
That's
but it's
crazy, bro.
Yeah, Abydos, where Seti 1 was the first Holy Land. So just like they have the Holy Land over there, this was the first Holy Land. And in that temple, Champollion found a manuscript that he actually sent a letter to his brother and told him he was terrified after finding it. And what it said is that the Egyptians were describing what were their greatest mistake. The greatest mistake that they made was that they learned how to create another man. So if you go back to that other picture you were looking at with the people, the NPC picture prior, I don't know. Yeah, they learned how to create people, and this could be the homunculus. This could be all types of stuff, how to graft and create different races and stuff like that.
Champollion said that?
Champollion said that he found in that temple of Seti 1 on the walls. There's actually, you can look it up. It's called the Nasi, the Tamahu. You ever heard of Tamahu?
Nah, man, I'm gonna embarrass myself trying to spell this out too.
Well, yeah. Nasi is spelled Nahsi. Tamahu is spelled Tamahu. And maybe this thing will pop up when you put it in. You go to images and they'll show, it's in images. Oh man, where was it? Go back one real quick. Okay, scroll down.
This is it.
Yeah, the story of the tab, but it was a picture that was up there. Just click on, right there. You see the picture of the African right there. Yeah, click on that. All right, below that up, that is the hieroglyph that he found in Seti 1. That said basically that they learned how to create another man. There's literally, there's all types of stuff. People can look into this. And it was in Seti 1, where Champollion, Napoleon's brother, sent a letter to Napoleon about it.
Oh, wow. This is they're talking about Jakob here, which is getting back into 5%, no? Because Jakob was the big-headed scientist.
Yeah, that stuff is esoteric too, bro. There wasn't a big-headed scientist. The people in that region, they used to do something like human trepidation, where they would put these things over their heads, like these crowns. It would cause their heads to grow like cones. If you look at Nefertiti's head, or you look at some of the pharaoh's head, that's what they're talking about. They're not saying that there was one big lab scientist with a big head that was creating people. They were describing a group of priests, a priesthood that probably were evil. I don't know. And they just started looking into these black magic sciences and stuff, and they became the group became known as Yakub or Jacob.
This is really wild too, because him finding that text that says that their mistake was, trying to make life, and then the link to Prometheus. I mean, Prometheus movie, right? That's exactly what the movie Prometheus was about, was that
Yeah.
humans found a way to try and make their own life, but it was like this inferior type that ended up becoming basically a poison.
Well, the thing about it, they didn't try anything. They said in the text that our biggest mistake is that we learned how
Mm.
to create another man. So they were literally doing it. They didn't try. They created something. They created a human. They created, I don't know, chimeras. They created things. It probably started off as research, and then it moved up into the human genome, and some groups still have these genomes that these experiments took place with back then in antiquity. They have it still in their symbiotes today.
Yeah, this also reminds me of something called I think it was Descartes called them mechanical animals. And I always wonder that too. Is that the same thing as an NPC or a homunculus, or is it its own thing? If I do
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if I heard of it. I have to see an example.
animal machine, philosophical notion from Descartes in the 17th century, who held that animal behavior can be compared to that of machines. Like
Hmm.
them, animals are an assembly of mechanical pieces and therefore unable to think and not gifted with consciousness, although they differ by their living character and ability of feeling. So like this gets really, really dark, man, because Descartes would go on to try and prove this to people by essentially torturing like dogs in public, and
Oh
then
shit.
just being like, hey, don't worry everyone, it's just a mechanical animal. All these like like yelps and screams, that's just what it's programmed to do. It's like if
Oh
like
wow.
metal rubs against metal. But he was really pushing this. I mean, it gets really really dark when you get into that. But I mean,
Yeah.
the way that you would extrapolate that is you could almost imagine someone doing the same things to a human and just being like, you're not real. You're just going through the motions, and you know what it sounds like to scream, so you're just making the screams.
Yeah.
It almost felt like witch hunt style in a way, because Descartes said that the only way you could tell one of these animal machines from a real person was through reason alone. So you'd have to like sit down and interrogate them. Like this might be the precursor to like the IQ test in a way of like, all right, it's not a real person, kill him, just an NPC, kill him.
Yeah. And that's how, and the thing of how they were determining IQ, I thought was very weird when I looked into it. When you're looking into different clan data of determining the IQ, is it based on what group got dominated or not? Or is it based on how can we use intelligence to build civilization? I feel like that's how intelligence didn't have anything to do with my group succeeding more than your group, and that's when I started to look into there's a lot of different Twitter spaces. I'm kind of speaking off the top of my head that they talk about the IQs, of different people and how the IQ test came about. And when I look into it, I'm like, the stuff you guys talking about, like way back in history when we were hominids, that has nothing to do with really how I look at IQ. I think that's like savagery to me. If I'm hunting with another group and my IQ is based on if I have enough children to go and take the food from the other group, and because I wasn't smart enough to have enough kids after I died, my clan didn't go over there and take your food. I don't think that's based on IQ. I think that's based on savagery. Well, just to me, but that's just a side note.
Yeah, no, I mean, you could also say that if you had like two groups that were competing for resources, and one
Yeah,
was moral and the other one was immoral, that doesn't take intelligence for one group to just say, let's just go over there and destroy everything and take their stuff. And there's also the concepts of like two different groups. One could be thinking long term, like, hey, if I nurture a relationship with this other community, we can work together. And but the other group might just be like, hey, if we do a raid right now, then we'll have food tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like they might not be thinking the same way.
And then they'll say the one who rated them, oh yeah, they have more IQ.
Yeah,
like,
it's funny.
Like, yeah.
I was trying to. I don't know if I can find one, but I read this book, heavily criticized. I think it's called The Bell Curve by Stephen Jay Gould. But he mentions that the original IQ tests were very cultural. So it would show you like a picture of like a birdie from a badminton set and say like, what is this? And if you didn't know, then you missed that question. So like, does that mean you're an idiot because you don't know what a badminton racket or a birdie is? Or does that just mean that you've never lived in that sort of culture where that was a thing that you would come across?
Yeah, I just think it's like it's just like scientism. It's not science. It's just a bunch of people agreeing on concepts. And then, that becomes an egregore within itself in a certain community. In the dominant communities, it may become an egregore, and it's based on socialism of that topic of IQ. And now we're way off path to what an IQ really is. It should be determined by, I think it's more spiritual than it is intelligence. But yeah.
Yeah, where are you at on like the Nephilim concept? Because I just noticed that egregore comes from the book of Enoch, meaning watcher angels. So those were the ones that came down and copulated with humans and created the Nephilim, according to my surface level conspiracy theory research.
Yeah, I think that's esoteric too. I believe they're talking about waveforms of consciousness and then during certain periods, because they said that the fallen angels gave man the consciousness to develop technology, to get technology and utilize it. And that became evil later on, of them giving that information to man. But it's the same thing that Prometheus did. If you look at the story going back to Prometheus, he did the same thing. He gave man consciousness. He gave them the concept to put two rocks together to make fire, and then you'll be warm from whatever that stuff is, So I don't think the concept of the Nephilim being evil has been misinterpreted over many different people that's trying to get into esotericism and metaphysics. I think we're talking about another dimension where consciousness existed. Now, if we're talking archons that got into the genetic pool of humans, and that's when we started to become more savage. We started to increase war. We started to harm nature. We began to do the things that pretty much we're doing on a high level today. Then, yeah, we can say that the Nephilim, if you want to call the archons, or they call them reptilians too, if we want to call the negative beings in higher dimensional realities as Nephilim, evil, I get where you're coming from, but you also need the polarity to understand one another. If we didn't have the polarity of knowing what evil is, then we wouldn't know what good is. We want to have a concept of what that is. So it balances itself out in the hermeticism, the hermetic laws. It has to be a polarity. So if we're talking beings that bestow different consciousness down on us, some more positive, some things more negative, I would just, look at that as what I said earlier, just egregores of collective thought that came from other dimensions. And some people sway more to one side and other people more in between, or they're on the other side.
What about like the snake in the garden? Because that kind of sounds like the same premise of, offering up and from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? And then that's kind of what gets everyone kicked out. But that also being esoteric, is that also an example of like that wasn't bad? That was just something that had to happen to establish duality?
Yeah, I really look at all of that esoteric, actually, bro. The tree of good and evil. Tree of good is the Kabbalah. The tree of evil is the Qliphoth.
The what?
The Qliphoth.
Can you spell that? Because I don't know if I even know what that is.
Qliphoth. Qliphoth. That's the backside of the tree. It's called the night side of the tree of life. This is Lilith becomes Malkuth on this, and this is talking about the deep subconscious realm. This is the realm of destruction. See, in Kabbalah, it teaches that there's two powers God has. God has creation, and he has destruction. Now, Satan is supposed to be his projected half of himself that causes destruction. So you have to traverse through Doth on the Kabbalistic tree of life, which is where most people gain supernatural abilities. That's you know, in Masonry, they talk about crossing the abyss. The abyss area in consciousness would be, on this chart right here, be right there. And once you go through Doth, if you could pull up a chart of the Qliphoth, you would see that. You see, Doth isn't on there because Doth is like
so this has its own chart too.
Yeah. Thaumiel becomes Kether, and Lilith becomes the bottom of the tree. Let's see if that's it.
All right, hold on, I'm gonna get a sharper one here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the tree of life, tree of death. This is all new to me, man.
Yeah, this Qliphoth, the Sephiroth versus the shells. You know, then we're talking emanations.
What is this? Why does this have demon names on it?
Yeah, it should have demon names on it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, well, this is not the right one. It's describing the demon name. So okay, I could describe it, bro. You can keep that up there. Lucifer and Moloch at the top is called, Satan and Moloch at the top is called Thaumiel. And Thaumiel is called the twin. Satan and Moloch is supposed to be twins. Satan represents the person who keeps their mind on the past. Satan glances in the past. Moloch glances into the future. This is going straight into the future or whatnot. So all this is a polarity, bro. The powers of destruction is necessary. If I wanted to create a new house, or if I wanted to create a community, I would have to destroy something. You know how they detonate old buildings?
Building 7.
Like Building 7. That was a Qliphoth ritual in actuality. So it's talking about the powers of, how the demons rebel, right? It's not a bad thing to rebel if something is bad. So if I rebelled against the government, I'll become a conspiracy theorist, whatever they want to deem me as. But what I'm saying could be actually true of what's going on. So it's just a misconception. This is the aggressive tension side of consciousness when we're talking with the demons. Moloch being the king who creates and rules new worlds. Satan destroys the former world, which is universe A, the formal self in perceptions of reality. And Moloch is creating universe B, the alchemical transmutated identity of the person. So Thaumiel, just like Doth, is like the black hole, a gate to another universe, getting outside of the creation of the demiurge or the creative God, creator God. The Atman, or the soul, wants to be its own creation. It doesn't want to be litigated to a creation of another entity. So this is when you're getting into Satanism. If a person says, God is my father, like, let's look at the story of Lucifer. Wasn't Lucifer said to want to be God? That's why he got kicked out of heaven.
You'd have to tell me, man. I thought it was because he was like too proud, or wanted to establish his own kingdom.
Okay, what would be wrong with that? Okay, if let's go with that. If Lucifer is the son of God, he's an angel, right? So he is God's son. He is God's creation. If you was with your father and your father had a kingdom, bro, and you said, I want a kingdom too, would you be evil? for wanting to be like your father? Would you be
I mean,
evil?
I know you're going to undercut them. You're going to sell a better product for less.
No, I'm just saying, if you let's just leave all potentialities out. If I said I want to be like my father, I want to be just like I want to be king. I want a kingdom too. Would I be evil to want to be like my father?
Oh, I thought you said equal. Evil? No, I guess not. No, I wouldn't
Yeah,
think
it is
would be
evil.
evil.
Yeah, they're not equal, like evil. It's not evil, right? For me to want to be like my father and want the same thing he wants. He wanted. Naturally, that's what kids do or children do. They want to be like their parents. So Lucifer wanted to be God because God is God. That's his father. That's his parent. And now he's called evil. You see? So that's the misconception that in esotericism, really, when you get into Satanism, these people don't even worship Satan, bro. They're talking about a concept of, just like this chart right here, we want to be in control of our reality, just as God is in control of his creation. And in the Bible, it all said that we are gods. Biblically, Jesus said that out his own mouth. He said, ye are gods. Maybe little gods. You are the little gods, and there's one big God, but you still, nonetheless, if I took a bottle and dipped it in the ocean, isn't the same content of material in the bottle is the same thing in the ocean? So we all have the potential of God within ourselves. So when Satanists came up, yeah, they started doing extreme shit, bringing out Baphomets and black horns and stuff. And that was all to rebel against their parents, make their parents mad and shit. Have that stuff.
It's like a teenager, and like when I was growing up, like getting into Marilyn Manson and putting on like black nail polish or something.
Yeah, that's just to get at your parents. Like, you really, you wasn't sacrificing no goats in the backyard and shit, You see what I'm saying? So that's just the concept, though. Yeah.
What I don't like, if you don't know all the intricate details, but this is the first time I've seen this chart with these names on it. Can you walk through any of these other points? Like, why does it have Belphegor here in the middle at 187? Why is Ball here? And like, why is Lilith down here?
Okay, hold on one second. I know because you don't have the real names of it. It starts at the bottom is right. Lilith is the bottom. Samael is the next one.
Here we go. Here's the one that you're talking about, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Well, why do they all go to like Barnes and Noble and Amazon? It's so funny.
Yeah, it's known, bro. It's out here. The knowledge is out here.
There we go. These names sound like the ones you were saying.
Okay, yeah. So you have Lilith, then you have Samael. I don't know what comes. Yeah, is it Thageron? I can't really see. Let me blow this up.
Thageron. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit more.
No, it's cool. I can see it now. Okay. Yeah, Gamliel. Gamliel is the children of Lilith and Samael. And then after that, you get a Rabzarak. A Rabzarak is like the dark version, version of the astral. They call it the night astral plane of Netchek on the Kabbalah. All the war gods are associated with this spear. It says a raven. You turn into like a raven when you're in this astral plane. And you know how Odin has Thunen and Mugen, or whatever, the two ravens on his shoulder. He's associated with a Rabzarak. It's the name of Rabzarak translates to the ravens of dispersion. It's ravens live off death and decay of bodies on the battlefield, and they're known to free the spirit from death. So yeah, they're talking about how messages and prophecies are brought freely into consciousness, and it disperses back into the world to bring more information. That's what the ravens represent esoterically here in a Rabzarak.
Wow, that's nuts. Yeah, because I guess after like a big battle, you would just see all of your homies getting eaten up by ravens as they pick through the scraps.
Correct.
And that becomes like I guess that if you see like a whole like swath of ravens coming, it's like
Exactly. You know what the deal is. A lot of people
like they know that there's someone's about to get fed right now. Why don't I know about that?
Yeah. So Thageron is the opposite of Tifereth. They're the same on the opposite side. Tifereth represents beauty. Thageron represents all of the influences that help conceal rather than unveil beauty. So it's the essence of demonic nature that becomes apparent if one truly tries to understand the meaning of beauty. Beauty is not a term to coin cultural expressions of physical aesthetics, but is the inner nature of creation itself. And in order to grasp like mystical concepts of beauty and nature, it depends on the person's intuitive access to the uninfluenced intellect or rationale called the gnosis, the state of gnosis. So here is a dispute or a juridical process where a person develops something called antinomian thinking. Antinomian means to go against, to be against the law. So an antinomian person is completely against all the laws or whatnot. And that means that this spear or this shell, Thageron, represents a person who goes against the formal version of how the construct of the formal plane is set up. They're completely
like an anarchist almost.
Yeah, like an anarchist, pretty much. So the next one is Gogshibla. No, matter of fact, it's not that. It's Galakup, which is compared to Geburah, the fifth Sephirah. Geburah is the court of justice. Galakab is called the arsonists or the flaming ones. Geburah is associated with the wrath of God. You know how God punishes men. You'll hear sometimes that God punishes men. He uses this shell, Galakab, to carry through that punishment. And it's a system of huntings laced with chaos that God sends. So it's like a God created this crack in creation. So he's able to check evil, and he's able to check people that get out of line. And Galakab belongs to that mental plane, one of the two poles that Thageron operates. So it belongs to suffering, and it also belongs to lust, but that's another topic.
Are we talking just like mental like suffering here? Is this like guilt, or is it more complicated than that?
It could be that, or it could be more complicated. It could be both.
Like is this like forgive me for my ignorance. Is this like you go out into the field and it's like, if there's a God, then strike me down right now, and you get hit by lightning? Was that from this sphere, or is that too oversimplified?
I think it's oversimplified.
Okay,
It's like a special structure. So lust belongs to suffering. People don't understand that. So in Galakab, just to simplify it, lust passes into suffering, and suffering passes into lust, and then it becomes exchangeable. So sex and death is the revolution of the physical abomination. So it's comparative to the planet Mars, going to war with those forces, breaking the marital bonds to inspire promiscuity. I don't know that word, but
promiscuity, yeah.
Oh, promiscuity. That's how it's spelled. And so that's what they meant. Learning to control or invert experiences of lust and suffering. That's how you break that process. So that's what it says. It's comparing both Geburah and Galakab. Galakab breaks the suffering. It teaches us how to control it and invert those experiences within us. But God uses it in a different way. So we use the Qliphoth in the way pertaining to our mental alchemy. God uses it to get his creation in check.
So I'm curious, like, what will happen, or like, I guess, what would be your entry point if you're trying to teach someone about some of these concepts about Lucifer, Prometheus, and just like these, like the tree of life and the tree of death. And 5 seconds in, it's just like, oh, you're you're a Satanist, or you're spreading evil. Like, is there like a certain path of questions that you'd throw back at them, like in a Socratic way, or is it just like you just turn around and ignore them?
Yeah, I would have asked questions. I got a lot of questions I would ask.
So let's say someone just came up to you and like, I just came out of, they're wearing like their Sunday best and they're like behind you in line. Like, I can't believe that you're talking about Lucifer in any way other than, damning him back to hell. So like, what would be the entry point there?
Well, first I would ask, well, why in the Bible, if Lucifer is supposed to be damned to hell, why is Lucifer? Because it mentions biblically, he is the morning star in the beginning of the Old Testament. But at the end of Revelation, Jesus says, no, correct. I am the morning star. So it's Jesus and Lucifer are the only two entities or beings in the Bible that says that they are the morning star. So I would ask them, why does Lucifer and Jesus both say that they are the morning star? Explain that concept. And of course, I know there will be cognitive dissonance, but the truth of the understanding that I know is that Jesus and Lucifer, first of all, is nothing but Horus and Set. They're polarities. Jesus and Lucifer are the same person. Biblically. Satan and Lucifer aren't the same being either. A lot of people misconstrue that. Satan and Lucifer are not the same being. So Lucifer fell from heaven. Jesus came down and acquired a physical body in the physical realm. He became man, correct? The fall from heaven, people don't understand the fall from heaven wasn't to hell. The word hell in the Jewish text, it translates to Sheol, Sheol, which later in English transliteration becomes shell. The shell is the physical body. It's the gross body. Our bodies are the shell. So hell is the shell. Guess what else Sheol translates to in the English language? School. So school, shell, is the physical body. So what I'm telling you is that a fallen angel, like what Lucifer fell. Lucifer is basically the concept of consciousness acquiring a human existence. That's what happened to Jesus. He had to become human to tell God why he shouldn't destroy humans. That's why he came down. Hey, God, I went down there. I became a human. They got it pretty hard, man.
Yeah, this is all new to me too. So when I was looking up that show, and it said that it says here, Sheol in the Hebrew Bible is a place of darkness where the dead go, both righteous and unrighteous, regardless of moral choices made in life. A place of stillness and darkness, cut off from the life of God. And then it says the inhabitants of Sheol are the shades or the Raphaim, entities without personality or strength. And I'm sure someone brought this up to me before, but Hebrew Bible, it says that the Raphaite or Raphaim in Phoenician referred to a people of greater than average stature. So it was a race of giants, I guess.
Yeah, all of that stuff gets misconstrued. These people that are posting these Wikipedia and different, they're not trained in the occult. They're not trained. I'm not saying there wasn't giants. There were giants, but these giants aren't what people. There wasn't no big giants, from my understanding, like ruling over people. Yeah, we're big giants.
Well, to be fair, they did just say people of greater than average height, and they don't actually get specific.
Okay, good. That's
Although
okay.
the picture definitely shows a little bit more than above average height, right?
Absolutely more than average height.
So this is proof, right? I mean, this picture that someone uploaded to Wikipedia seems like ircontrovertible proof that giants existed.
Yeah, giants.
Where else would they have gotten this picture from, man?
Yeah, giants existed, but the concept of them being like what did they say earlier? The shield, and all of that. First of all, a shade. If you go into the theosophical school, they call them shades. A shade is a being in the astral plane they're basically counterfeit spirits. They're not okay. So you have two different types of people in the world. You have people that have the divine spark within them. That's called the Christos in Gnosticism. That's the people that's able to think outside of the socialism and actually do like what me and you do. Let me do the research and look at this stuff for myself. I'm not just going to believe some person just because they claim to be the expert of this topic. I'm gonna go do the research myself, and I'm not only that, I'm gonna form my own opinion and understand this type of stuff. Those type of people have a divine spark within them. They are actually the only people alive. Other people who can't do that, they can't rationalize that to go and do this research. They would either call it evil or whatever. Just to do the research is evil. You know, those are shades. Those are people that aren't going to escape the cycle of reincarnation. They're like NPCs. You know, they're counterfeit spirits in the Nag Hammadi text. The Nag Hammadi text says that man discovered there were two different types of man. There was a group that the archons, they kind of invaded the genetic gene pool of another group of people. And yeah, if you type in Nag Hammadi and you type in counterfeit spirits, it'll all pop up. They'll tell you straight up that there is a group of people out here that aren't literally people. Here it goes. Okay. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah.
Now up to the present day, Hanky Panky continued due to the chief archon.
Mm-hmm.
He planted Hanky Panky desire in her who belongs to Adam. So that's Eve, I guess, at this point, or Lilith, probably Eve.
Yeah.
And he produced through intercourse the copies of the bodies and inspired them with his counterfeit spirit.
Mm-hmm. So he put another being consciously, spiritually in the group out of Adam and Eve, you know, but Samael and Lilith, which was before, and they're deemed the devil, or they're deemed, you know, caricatures of Satan. You see how the Nag Hammadi and the Gnostic text describe it differently, but continue.
Yeah, this is wild, man. I haven't read any of this directly before. It says, if the spirit descended on them, they will in case be saved and will change for the better. For the power will descend on every man, for without it no one can stand. And after they're born, the spirit of life increases, and the power comes to strengthen the soul. No one can lead it astray with the works of evil. But on those whom the counterfeit spirit descends are drawn by him, and they go astray.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Lord, where do the souls of these go when they have come out of their flesh? And he smiled and said, the soul in which power will become stronger than the counterfeit spirit is strong and flees from evil through intervention of the incorruptible one. It is saved and taken up to the rest of the eons.
Mm-hmm. That's people. The aeons will be the only way to escape the chief archon's realm. Consciousness came from the aeons. So physicists still don't understand what consciousness is. They're still studying it. So they're just saying that there's one group of people who are going to be like NPCs. They're just here to live and reincarnate. They've probably been in our lives in other lifetimes that we live. If you believe in reincarnation, let's just say that me and you knew each other a couple thousand years ago. The same people that was in your life doing little junk to you will be the same people 2,000 years later. The same counterfeit spirit reincarnates in another name, doing little janky stuff to you again.
Dude, this little quote here is wild. I've lost it trying to zoom in.
Okay.
Right here.
Yeah.
It says, where the hell was it? When the chief archon realized they were exalted above him in the height and they surpassed him in thinking, he wanted to seize their thought, not knowing that they surpassed him in thinking and that he will not be able to seize them. That sounds like Skynet to me, man. It's like the counterfeit spirit, right? And then the counterfeit spirit at some point, or any spirit, once it surpasses you in thinking, you won't even realize it, right? Not realizing that surpassed them in thinking, not being able to seize it. Like once that I guess I'm maybe reading into this, but that's like singularity almost. Like
Yeah,
once the computers can surpass us in thinking, then we won't be able to tell the difference between real and counterfeit.
every AI film is Gnostic. Every single one. Gaining consciousness, giving consciousness to a
Yeah,
machine.
it's a good point, man. It's a really good point.
It's Gnostic, man. You know, the whole Matrix is a Gnostic
Yeah,
movie.
there's so many like atheist tech nerds out there that don't realize they're like hardcore Gnostics, huh?
Yeah, there's a group out in Cali. They call themselves like the Gnostic. They call themselves Gnostic technicians or something like. I can't remember the name of their group, but they call themselves something like a technocracy or something. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, they got a group out there. I could send you the article if you can't find it. But
That sounds awesome, actually.
yeah, they're forming you know a
What's
frame. Mhm.
what's the idea of like transhumanism within Gnosticism? Is it looked down upon, or is it like we're already flawed? Why not just move into a flawed machine body?
Oh no, they're against it. They're all
Really?
about getting back into the aeons. Gnostics are all about leaving the shit. You know, they're
Yeah.
100% about that, bro. Like there is transhumanism. They discuss stuff like that. You know, they talk about stuff like that.
I gotta pull this one up. I don't know how much credit you give the Kybalion. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, the Kabbalion.
Have you read this before? I
Yeah,
assume.
yeah, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
there was a concept in here that was brand new to me when I read it, and I'm gonna butcher it, but paraphrasing, it's that there's this concept of like everyone is trying to save themselves and in sinning, and you like keep going through this purification process until you become enlightened and don't sin anymore. It's an oversimplification, obviously,
Yeah.
but there's another concept that this book kind of introduced in a way that's like it's not just you. Like if I'm living my life perfectly and I'm free from sin and I'm free for material attachment and I'm going to become enlightened and get through break through the process of reincarnation. But if I see you out in public or like whatever and you're sinning and you're doing something bad, then you're actually holding me down too, because like if you get reincarnated, that means I got to get reincarnated. And it's almost like the system only works once everyone becomes enlightened and goes back into this like void again. So
Oh yeah.
there's this and the way that it was described in the book, where it's like why are there some religions where it's like so shameful and people are so hard on others for not living up to the religious standards? And it makes more sense if it's not just like I'm acting so good and you should too, but it's like, I'm putting in all this work, I'm not eating like fish on Sundays and I'm not using elevators, and you're going out and doing this, like you're screwing it up for all of us. So like let's just off that dude, and he won't be offending God anymore, and God will see us as, oh, okay, you like squashed that guy because he wasn't following the rules. But I had never come across that concept of like, someone crossing the street, like some dude jaywalking. It's like you're screwing this up for everyone, man.
Well, yeah, that's interesting, but I don't think, just from a Gnostic or Manichaean frame of mind, it don't really work like that, you know.
No, okay, so we're safe.
Yeah, yeah. It's not, because if my salvation up out of here is based on a collective group consciousness,
It's a group project, bro.
we're never getting out of here. You know,
You
just
remember
give up.
group projects in school?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, everyone would just contribute equally, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So so there's another concept, just based on that last thing you read, this one quick second. There's a text called The Apocalypse of Adam. And in the first couple of sentences, it talks about how yeah, here it goes. Okay, let me look at that. Okay, so listen to my words, my son Seth. So really the Sethians knew that the first god actually named is Seth. And that's where Satan comes from. So that's where Christians get mad at me right here. I'm sorry. It's just truth, everyone. The first god name was S-U-T, Sut-Nasi, Set. Gets translated to Set. That's like the oldest one we can go back to, what is it, Sumerian and all of that type stuff. Is Set or Sut. What it says, listen to my words, my son Seth. When God had created me out of the earth, along with Eve, your mother. So isn't that a little bit different?
Well, yeah, because I have only heard that Lilith was the one that was created out of the earth with Adam, and that he had Eve made out of his rib to be subservient.
Yeah, that's all. They mix all of that stuff up, really. This is like the closest thing you'll probably get to what actually happened here. It says, when God had created me out of the earth along with Eve, your mother, I went about with her in a glory which she had seen in the aeon from which we had come forth. So it says we came from an aeon, and she taught me a word of knowledge of the eternal God. So down that puts the woman in a different place here. She taught Adam. Then it said, we resembled the great eternal angels, for we were higher than the God who had created us in the powers with him, whom we did not know. And then God, the ruler of the aeons and the powers, divided us in wrath. Then we became two aeons. So if you just look at what this just said, basically the soul used to be combined. Man and woman before a physical realm used to be an androgynous soul in the aeons. And then this God, he divided us and put man in a body separate from female or a woman. We became two different entities. But the reason why the what you said earlier, the sex word,
Yeah,
whatever,
hanky.
I was trying to figure it. Hanky. The reason why the hanky panky feels so good is because it's the soul is reminding you that you used to be one. It's a forever reminder that the bliss represents when you are one. This is what is supposed to be felt at all times outside of the physical realm. So it's real deep. But yeah,
I've heard I mean, this sounds like a weird tangent, but I've heard the concept of circumcision related to this in that exact way, that the reason why like certain religions circumcise on birth, it's to remove that circle, and that circle represents the female essence removed from the male, and that when you get married later in life, that ring going back onto your finger, back onto your appendage, right, that's sticking out.
oh wow.
That's basically saying, like, reuniting with that female part of you that was removed at birth. But the removal at birth is really symbolic from the removal, like, pre-birth.
Wow, I've never heard that. That's very interesting. No, I think that's very, very interesting. So yeah, so guys, you can read the Apocalypse of Adam. Another Gnostic, this is a Gnostic text as well. And it's just talking about how this God split them up. The one in the Bible is actually who they're describing. And they said that they were higher than the God that created them. They came from an aeon. So basically, man has a spark inside of them that the God that created his body, or the third dimension, he doesn't even have. So they kind of buried this text right here, away from Christian manuscripts and everything. So
I mean, if it's not in the King James version, then is it even in the Bible?
exactly. Exactly. So yeah, but it goes into the similar thing of the Bible. It has all of that in there. Look, it has the flood, it has all of that in there. It's just people are controlling who gets to read this stuff, who gets to look this stuff up.
Yo, this is like a rapper name right here.
Oh, really?
Yeezius Mazarius Yezidikius.
That'll be the craziest rapper name ever.
Lil Yeezus.
Oh, you got Yeezus. You saw he just patented the word use.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something spicy coming on the other end of that one.
Yeah. And then when he patents that, Israel goes into war with these people. So I was like, wow, the same damn day.
And what other fire Gnostic texts that maybe me and my people watching this don't know about?
You can look up what is it called? The hypostasis of the archons is a good one. Look up the hypostasis of the archons just to learn what these things are. You can also look up the tractate. I know that's hard to spell, but that's another one. You know. Okay,
Hopefully they just fix it.
I got you, man. I see. Oh, it's tripartite tractate. I'm sorry.
The three-part track, I guess.
Yeah, that one's very, very important to read as well. And there's another one on Sophia. I think it's called Pistis Sophia. It's one of the biggest.
That one I think is the one that I've actually read.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a big one that you got to read. The Pistis Sophia. So yeah, there's a whole lot, but I think if you get those that I just mentioned, you'll have the gist of it all, of what some things is missing from the context of what the creator God was versus the monadic God. You know, the God in the Bible actually becomes the devil that creates man. And even in Egyptian text, they talk about the potter's wheel. What was the deity? It was like a bull deity. I can't remember. He has a bull head. Yeah, potter's wheel. Look up the Egyptian. Yeah. Khnum. Khnum in Egyptian text is the same as Yaldabaoth or Saklis or Samael in the Gnostic text.
Okay, so this is Prometheus at the table that's creating the little chunks of people, basically.
Right, but
homunculi. I forgot where the image went.
Yeah, but the thing
the creator
is,
of the bodies of human children, which he made of the potter's wheel, and then placed them in the mother's wombs. So that's Athena giving them the consciousness.
Yes. And Harry Potter gets his name from this too, by the way.
Really? How so?
It's just
because of the potter's wheel?
It's the potter's wheel, and the name Harry actually translates to Horus. A lot of people don't know that. If you look up Harry and Horus, it's like the same thing.
Yeah, this is probably just going to try and sell you like a movie ticket at the end of the night.
Yeah, I saw that. Dumbledore just passed away too. That was kind of weird. There's some stuff connected with that. Well, the actor who plays Dumbledore, of course. But
how many Egyptian gods do you know off the top of your head?
Oh,
aren't there like hundreds of them?
No, it's like only 9 main ones, but there are hundreds of them. Yeah, I mean, because you listen, like.
But Egypt, I mean, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Well, see, there's 32 dynasties in Kemet. So some of them, they're god, like this isn't really a god. This is representative of something else. Yeah, that's what that is.
Yeah, so I mean, he's not hiding it, bro.
yeah. I mean, that's on temple walls. I mean,
he's a shower.
Yeah, so that's on temple wall. So you got the 9 main guys called the Ennead, and then you have these other sub archetypes of the same god. They're just the same god. They just in different dynasties they gave them different names, you know. But the 9 main, these are the main gods, you know. Yeah, those are the main ones right there. No, but in
the Papyrus of Ani.
Yeah, that's where my name comes from. He wrote the Book of the Dead.
That's the coolest name back history. Oh, where'd you get your name? It's Book of the Dead, girl.
Exactly. Yeah, I kind of wrote the Book of the Dead. Yeah, I'm not, trying to give myself credit or anything.
Great grandpa Ani, he was a pimp.
So yeah, so they get other names in different dynasties. you know. But who taught the Egyptians? You got to look into the Typhonians. They taught the Egyptians, and their chief god is what I mentioned earlier. It was Sut, and it was his mother, Tyaret.
Oh, crazy! That's what OTO used to call Toto,
Yeah,
as in the Typhonian Ordo Templi, and they dropped
yeah,
the Typhonian.
yeah. The Typhonians literally. So Typhon in the Egyptian text is a mother goddess, the mother of Set. Set is the oldest god in the Egyptian text. I said god, not goddess, quote unquote. The oldest god is Set. Yeah, he's the oldest one. Sutek, Sut, his name. This would be equivalent to the biblical Satan. So they would call this one Satan, but literally this is the first god that we get, and he comes out of his mother.
Where does Sobek fit into all this?
Sobek is another form of like Horus, because if you look up Harpocrates, who Aleister Crowley used to worship, he stands on top of a crocodile. Try the other. There's another picture.
They chop his feet off and all these.
Yeah, I can describe that. You got to look up the Moorish leg, where they used to sew on a Ethiopian's leg, to heal someone who had a condition. There it goes. So that deity behind them is Bes. That's the fairy god. That's the god of the fairies. Bes is an old god as well. He goes back to pre-dynastic era, to Nubia.
Is this like a little like gnome person?
Let me show you something. Look up Yoda rides. What is his name? Luke Skywalker. Yoda rides Luke Skywalker on his back. You can look it up on YouTube if you want, but yeah, that's what they're depicting in that picture you just saw. When he's carrying him on his back. If you go back to that Harpocrates picture with Bes, that's what they're depicting. Well, that's not the. There's an older picture than that. I don't know. Try going to images. There's an older picture than that. That's like a remake or some shit. Go to that first one. It's like the Stella. Yeah, that might be a little bit. No, that's not the original one. Okay, you see the one that says pin on Saturnus? Oh, right there. The one that your arrow is close to, right below. Yeah, that one. The darker ones are a little bit older, and but they're not showing the head really. Go to one when they have the head behind them. Yeah, you'll see the head
behind it.
Yeah, you see that one? That's older. That's definitely an older one. Because some people be recreating this thing, bro. They'll recreate it and make their own version. And yeah, so you see that head behind them. That represents the higher realm that we came from. So it's like we're a god in this other realm, and we're streaming ourselves down into the physical realm. But if you look at
he holding scorpions and snakes and something else there?
Yeah, he holds scorpions and he steps on a crocodile, meaning that all dark powers crumble before him. He's Horus. You know, so Luke is Horus and Bes is Yoda. Bes is supposed to be his higher self. He teaches Horus the art of the god, or the nature of the gods. Yeah, you got Besat and stuff like that. But yeah, the original dwarfs come from Bes. Matter of fact, the Khoisan, the pygmies, this is their chief god. You ever heard of the pygmies, the small people of Africa? Yeah, this is their chief god, is Bes, the fairy god. So all of these things come from, someplace, but you can see it in films that
the male version of Bes became popular with the Phoenicians.
Yeah, that's much. Best goes back to Atlantis. When you
Oh
read,
wow, dude, I'd never heard this before. The island of Ibiza derives its name from the god's name,
mm-hmm,
dedicated to Bess.
yep, yep.
Wow.
Best goes back to Atlantis, bro. It's in the Emerald tablets. They talk about Bess. Bess is super old, bro. Super old. Mm-hmm.
This dude was made to be an action figure.
Crazy, right?
Yo, what happened? This is the 2023 version of Bess.
Wow.
This is Bess before he joins the swim team.
You see this stuff, bro? So yeah,
Wow,
they just take
4
this thing.
BC. Yeah, man.
They take these
That's
things.
too. They got a image of him in Pompeii.
Yeah. They got a lot of different forms of him. And anytime you, like I said, anytime you're mentioning fairies, any of that. Oh, it will go back down. It said Neil Gaiman wrote a story about him. He wrote American Gods. He appears in the Sandman. Oh wow, Sandman is about to come back out. I wonder if he's going to appear in the second season. Did you get this? See Sandman
I
on
have. It was
Netflix?
one of my favorite comics growing up. I haven't actually
Oh,
watched
oh,
this series yet.
really? Yeah, that was heavy, bro. Like him. I'm forgetting the character's name. That was a very metaphysical comic that he came out with. And
I remember it not understanding it while I was younger, but when I went back and read it in like my 20s or my 30s, it was like 100 times better than I expected.
What did you think of it? What is the? Can you remember now that you?
Of Sandman, I mean, it's just a lot of like surreal kind of gods that come to you in your dreams, but he's like the ruler of this dream world. The Sandman is, and I wouldn't even consider it like good or bad. I guess if you come at from a certain standpoint, you'd be like, oh yeah, he's evil. But it's just kind of like the ruler of this realm of shades and shadows.
Yeah, and that's in the Necronomicon. They call it the Caliph.
I'm
And
gonna
the
have to go
whole
back and read this because I mean the imagery here, man.
yeah, you got to watch the show too, bro. I mean, some people that read the comics, they hate it. Some people like it, but that's just people in general. They don't like the original stuff. But
We got like a little reptilian alien over here. We've got a little
yeah,
like hair in time that's going into the universe. Got an
this is the
Egyptian
dream
god.
realm, right? This is dreamland. This is his kingdom, right?
I assume so, yeah, because there's this tear that you can jump through.
Yeah, because in the Netflix series, his kingdom is disappearing, and he has to go to the other gods like to reestablish the dream realm because dreams are going to leave permanently, and that's going to drive people crazy and stuff like that. So
I'll definitely have to revisit this. We'll have to do a series on just comic books soon.
yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be cool. But yeah, bro, all of this stuff comes from something. We just have to start to just understand that it's okay to get a different perception. It's not evil for you to get a different, whether you're Christian, whatever religion you are. Metaphysics, esotericism is the basis of what the ancient manuscripts were looking into. And I believe mythology is nothing but physics, describing physics with characters. The characters are describing, the different functionalities of the portions of physics. So
I agree with you 100% on that. I think that because of the long game of telephone, a lot of it gets mistranslated. like some of the stupid impressions that I get too, right? Like a lot of that, like giants. Oh, there was 30-foot people
yeah,
walking around. That might have originally been some sort of a formula to like triangulate the position or the height of like your
right,
shadow, or because that's one way you can figure out the hypotenuse of something, right? If you know how long the shadow is, you know how long the object is, then you can calculate what the
right.
hypotenuse. But you might just be like, oh yeah, giants and shadows. But there's also a reason for that, and it's because like in mass, right? People aren't going to remember the quadratic equations and stuff, but they might remember your grandpa talking about like a 30-foot giant that came and like destroyed the town. So I think that there might have been hope, and this is just my own thinking, but I think that like in ancient cultures, they might have realized, man, people forget fast. You know what I mean? If we just wipe out villages, they forget everything really fast. And if it's just like the bumpkins or the soldiers that are left, then no one's remembering these formulas. So they come up with a way to dramatize it and turn it into these stories that are almost impossible to forget, like the feeding of the fish, or I can't remember the feeding of the multitudes, like Jesus when he takes the fish and he multiplies it. That's probably all sorts of complicated math equations, and the numbers there, like they're so specific and not not completely arbitrary. So I think that that's why that they're like, we turn these concepts into gods, because the story of gods can survive 1,000 years, but we've kind of proven to ourselves that complicated math equations that have to be accurate to certain degrees, they don't last, and they also are a little bit too abstract versus something that you can like visualize and tell your kids, where your kids don't even have to understand what the hell you're talking about. They just remember giants and shadows.
Exactly. And I think that's a great way to look at it. I think that's a great way to look at it, bro. And just as Thomas explains, I think everyone should start to look at this stuff very much differently. Spirituality is about gaining another perception. If you can't gain another perception of something, your soul isn't evolving. You're probably an NPC or a shade. I guess that's the lesson of this whole video.
If you want to know if you're NPC or not, go and try and steal a car and see if you get away with it.
Right.
If you get away with it, then maybe you're not an NPC. It's like the new inverted witch trial. But if you get caught, man, maybe you are an NPC. So, hey, tell people where to find you again, Ani.
Yes, man. It was great, man. You guys can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram, same name. You can find me on Twitter too. You guys check me out on there, or Facebook's Ani Osaru, YouTube Ani Osaru. But if you want to join, exclusive content, have a Patreon, you go to patreon.com/the_spiritual shade room. And we're dropping, videos like every day over there, and this great content if you want to get deeper into the stuff that I covered today. And I appreciate you for having me, bro.
Yeah, man, always a unique perspective. I feel like we could just keep talking about topic after topic. So there'll be a part 3 and a part 4 and a part 5 and everything. So
let's keep it going. Now I want to get on the movie breakdowns with you guys. I got a lot to say. Whole lot to say with these movies, so I can't wait to
do, man. If anything, you're waiting on me, because I'm at capacity doing the one a week.
I'm waiting on you, Tommy,
bro. But he's been begging me to do like 2 or 3 a week, and I'm gonna get there, because that's one of my favorite things to do, is just watch TV and watch movies and like notice all the weird symbolism in it. So I mean, I'm not gonna stop doing that anytime soon. So we'll definitely do those.
That's all I do all day, bro. I watched Loki this morning. You watch Loki yet?
He's been asking me too, man. I need the time, man, because when I'm watching it, I'll usually put something on in like the background that I can ignore, and if there's something interesting going on, I can just like watch it for a second and then stop. But when I have to like watch it to decode it and take notes, like I can't focus on anything else, and it's like torture for me, because I'm always doing like 4 or 5 things at once. But
I get it.
but,
you get it.
It's funny. I got to put so much focus into what a lot of other people use to just turn the brain off.
I get it, bro. Yeah, you get time, man. Please. Yeah, we want to.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I'm serious. I want to maybe do some like comic decodes. Pretty soon. I'll figure that out eventually, man. We'll get back together.
Okay, let's do it, bro. I'm all for it.
Thanks again to Ani. Everyone, make sure you go and click all the links in the description. If you're not following Ani already, do that right now. What are you doing? What are you waiting for? And check out this commercial for, I think this is available now. By the time I air this, you'll be able to back this project. So if you like Paranoid America and you want to see more, check this out.
Frazzle Drip Funhouse. Enter, if you dare, the world of an animatronic bear whose metallic heart beats with a thirst for justice, a hunger for revenge. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, connoisseurs of the macabre and seekers of the scandalous. Your voracious appetites for chilling narratives are about to be satiated by the heart-stopping, pulse-pounding creation of Paranoid American and Winged Sun comics. Abandoned in the dusty corners of amusement, now awoken in the murk of wickedness perpetrated by an evil elite. This is not your childhood fairy tale, but a macabre dance of vindication, soaked in crimson, a symphony of screams echoing in the dimly lit chambers of malevolence. Be prepared for an onslaught of ghastly gore and titillating terror. A wicked waltz through twisted hallways and blood-stained basements where only the brave dare to tread. Quake at the bear's unyielding pursuit, cackle at the sharp and sardonic one-liners, shudder at the graphic, gratuitous scenes that harken back to the glory days of B-horror flicks. Frazzle Drip Funhouse is your ticket to a thrill ride of terror. A carnival of carnage where the laughs are as loud as the screams. Uncover the truth beneath the rust and the blood, and remember, nothing is as it seems. Are you ready to step into the Frazzle Drip Funhouse, where the animatronic eyes are always watching, and vengeance is a game that everyone can play? Get your backer exclusive cover on Indiegogo. For more information, visit paranoidamerican.com.